Hello, everyone. Welcome to BadgerBeat.com. Rob Hernandez along with Jim Polzin and Tom Oates as we wrap up an incredible national semifinal matchup between the Badgers and the Kentucky Wildcats. Badgers fall by a point here tonight at AT&T Stadium. And Jim Polzin, I'll start with you. How tough a loss was this one for you to watch in terms of the way this ended? Ball in the hands of Trayvon Jackson, as it's been so many times in the clutch. And, the guy wants the ball in that situation, but again, tonight, just couldn't get the shot to fall.
Well, look at everything that has to go wrong for UW in the final 16.4 seconds. He misses a free throw. They hadn't missed a free throw all night, so he misses one of 3 free throws with 16.4 seconds left. So what that does is gives Kentucky a chance to win the game on a three-pointer. They contested that three-pointer, and the guy hit a tough shot. So that's another thing that went wrong. And then they got a decent shot, a shot that Trey Jackson probably hits most of the time, and he missed it. So it's like, you can analyze this game any way you want, but sometimes things just go wrong for a team. And in the final 16.4 seconds, everything went right for Kentucky, and nothing went right for UW.
Let's talk about that last shot. We posed the question on Twitter, what were they going to do in that final 5.7? I don't think anybody thought Trey Jackson wasn't going to take the shot, but it was suggested maybe a kick out to Brust. Were you comfortable with what happened there in that final possession?
Well, I thought he got a good wide-open shot. The same shot he made against Michigan State. I don't think people were complaining after that. It wasn't like the Ohio State game where he didn't really manufacture anything and things got kind of gummed up and they really had no shot. He got essentially the same shot he got against Michigan State and knocked down. I think the Badgers will take that shot. I think they'll take that shot every time if he can get himself open for what was pretty much of a wide open shot. I mean, it was contested a little bit, but I think they'll take that shot every time because he's proven both this season and last season that he's not afraid to take and make a big shot.
So much in games like this, the final analysis boils down to that final shot. But in this ball game, how much of what led to that final moment had to do with the fact that the Badgers really had a tough time keeping Kentucky off the offensive glass, and I thought there were a lot of opportunities that Kentucky converted at different points in this ball game that gave them, the opportunity to even be in that position.
Well, I think if you look at this game, both teams played to their strengths, and the game went back and forth. There was one stretch where Kentucky obviously, their length and athleticism and all that just kind of overwhelmed the Badgers, but the Badgers gathered themselves. There were other stretches when the Badgers started hitting threes, something Kentucky doesn't do very well, when Wisconsin got back. And it was just a back and forth, evenly matched game between two very different kinds of teams, but each team used its strengths at times, and it came down to a one-possession game at the end.
Jim Polzin, before we talk about what lies ahead for the Badgers, one final thought on this ball game. Anything that stood out to you about what went on, in the various ebbs and flows that you saw out there? Anything that surprised you what the Badgers did on a positive side? Anything that surprised you from something that maybe they fell short? Obviously, Frank Kaminsky, wasn't the force tonight that he was throughout this tournament. But what were your thoughts on maybe some of the other smaller components to this ball game?
Well, I think we thought Wisconsin would have difficulty stopping Kentucky's dribble penetration and keeping them off the glass, and I think that's what happened. I mean, it's a major point of this game, and it's a major point we knew going into the game, but I don't think I expected them to have this much difficulty. 46 points in the paint, 23 second chance points. That's those are big numbers to overcome, and yet UW almost did. It was a great game, one possession game, and ultimately Kentucky makes one more play, and then you got to credit them too.
As we look ahead to the future, two things that stood out tonight. I thought Bronson Koenig in the first half showed maybe the potential that's there at the guard position with him on the court, and then Due Dukin, who I think over the course of the tournament has shown glimpses of athleticism, really along with Ben Brust there late in that game, in the middle part of that game after the Badgers had fallen behind 8. Really took it over with two guys that we're going to hear a lot of next year, and I guess that bodes well for the future.
Yeah, I mean Ben Brust is really the only guy from the rotation that leaves, and that's a big loss. Don't get me wrong, I thought Ben Brust came as far as maybe anyone during his career here, and it's going to be tough to replace him. But you figure all those other guys are going to get better. I mean, they have 7 of their top 8 scorers back. A guy like Vito Brown is going to be better next year. Zach Showalter is going to be back after a red shirt. So they're going to be a pretty deep team with a lot of scoring options again. And you know what? They're going to start the season as a top 5 team, maybe top 1 or 2. I mean, they've got enough guys coming back and they've made enough of an impression on the national spotlight that they're going to get a lot of votes for high in the rankings next year. So the target's going to be on them next year, and it's up to them to take from this loss what they need to and apply it in the offseason. And that was the talk in the locker room too. They all said, we're going to learn from this and we're going to get better from it. And that's the one thing this team did really well this year.
Let's see, we'll close with you. I think we might have to go back to 1941, the last time that a Wisconsin team can say they left one on the table in a Final Four game. What is the future like, and what legacy, for lack of a better term, did this group leave that the group that follows next year can take with it?
Well, I think it's pretty clear what they've shown this season is that they belong in the upper echelon of teams. With this group of players that are currently in this program, with the coaching they get, they belong at this level. A national championship was not out of the question for this team. It went down with easily the most talented team in the country in Kentucky. Right. It went down to the final the last play of the game. Their march through the tournament, beating a team like Arizona, it just showed that. That was the number 1 seed. Kentucky was the number 1 team in the preseason polls. It just showed that they can play with those kinds of teams and that they're not out of their league. They're not, that company isn't too fast for them. They can play there. They can. I think the legacy is that they should have every right to think they can get back here next year.
Well, we'll see. I tell you what. More than 77,000 people watched this game here tonight, an NCAA record period for most fans to watch a game, and they saw a classic. Badgers come out on the short end of a 1-point loss to Kentucky in the national semifinals. For Jim Polzin, Tom Oates, I'm Rob Hernandez. Thanks for joining us here on Badger Beat. We'll see you next season.